Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 24, written by James Tynion IV, art by Julius Gopez. So, last issue, we had, Roy making his way in. He let the Untitled into the League of Assassins' hometown area, and then he was put in jail along with Starfire. And so now the real battle truly begins. So we open up with this hooded figure making his way into the city of the League of Assassins. And we see that Greystone goes to stop the hooded figure, but the figure is actually incredibly powerful. So we'll get back to that. Anyway, we then get into the middle of the actual fight. We see the Untitled going up against the League of Assassins. Jason is able to use his all blades to slice through them, and it actually does a decent amount of damage. And then as Bronze Tiger is like, okay, but like all we're able to do is swipe through them because they're essentially spirits. What should we do? And he says, oh, grab a copper shard from the fountain seal. It'll work as long as you aim for their heads. He's like, how the hell do you know that? He's like, the swords told me. He's like, all right, whatever. So we cut down into the cells where Roy is being held and Cheshire is also there. And you can hear all the fighting going on upstairs. And he basically just starts trauma dumping to Cheshire. He's just like, yeah, I feel like I'm just such a screw up. I'm like, clearly Jason, he wasn't feeling that, but I was trying to force him to be something he wasn't. You know what I mean, Cheshire? And he's just like, yeah, no, what's with the pity party? Not a huge fan of this. He's just like, oh gosh, I'm just so broken. He literally says, quote, God, why am I so damn broken? Why do I keep doing everything wrong? And Cheshire's like, okay, I'm feeling a little bad for you. I do have a little bit of pity here. So here's the thing. You're not broken. I know what broken looks like. You're not broken. You are fighting for your friends and whatnot. That ain't broken. We cut back to the fight briefly and we just see, Lady Shiva and Rictus and all the other ones going up into the fight until finally Jason is grabbed and flown up into the air by like the head of the Untitled. I don't even know if he has a name. But the head is basically like, oh yeah, you're here to stop me from getting to the Well of Sins, but I'm the one who took out Duker and all that. This is all about Duker's trickery. How dare you think that, blah, blah, blah. So Jason plunges his all blades into the guy, and he's just like, you don't get it. I'm like the strongest of the strong. It's not going to be enough to stop me. I've been going up against people with all blades for centuries. What do you have that they don't? And he's just like, nothing. But I ain't trying to kill you with the all blades. I'm just trying to guide you. And we see that as they're falling out of the air, he's guiding this guy back into the Well of Sins, which is obviously the end game for all of it. And as he drops him in there, we cut back over to Roy's story, and Cheshire's just continuing on with the like, look, you did everything you could to help them, right? And Roy's like, it didn't work though. I failed. And he's like, it doesn't matter. You tried. That's not something that broken people do. Broken people don't try like that. So yeah, no, you're still a decent person. And she holds out her hand, says, take my hand, and then phases him, teleports him, whatever the hell's going on, out of the jail cell. So we then cut back over to the head of the Untitled, and he starts having his power drained out of him. And he looks up towards the other Untitled, being like, help me, brothers, please. And they all keep their distance because he's obviously basically covered in poison right now. And the power is all drained away from him. So he's expelled from the well, just a frail old man. And the Untitled are floating above Jason. And he's like, all right, surrender now or I'm going to kick all your asses the exact same way as your master. And they basically said, oh, you can't defeat all of us. There's too many. And then Lady Shiva arrives with her man-bat army and says, oh, yes, we will. We're the League of Assassins. And I'm specifically Lady Shiva. You better recognize. So it comes in and starts killing all the rest of the Untitled. So, yes, actually successful there. So Cheshire unteleports, gets whatever you want to call it, arrives with Roy at the cell where Starfire is being held, which seems like just a big furnace down in the ground. And he looks down into it and says like, oh, Corey, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for everything. And Cheshire looks genuinely sad. She's like, oh, he feels things and they're not for me. So at that point, all the Untitles are taken care of, except for the old frail guy who's still left. He tries to tackle Jason and says, oh, you can't defeat me so easily. Bronze Tiger comes up, peels him off his back and snaps his neck. And that's the end of that. And it's like, all right, cool, great, awesome. So what do we do now? And Lady Shiva's like, oh, well, we're going to continue killing all the rest of the Untitled. We're going around culling every last one of them. And Jason's like, excuse me, I am the leader of the League of Assassins. You can't just kill people without my permission. I thought I said no killing undiscriminately like that. And then the hooded figure from the beginning of the issue shows up and just like, I'm sorry, did someone just say that the League of Assassins is not allowed to kill? Did I have something in my ear? What the hell is that? And Jason's like, who the hell are you? Everyone stop. He's going for the Well of Sins. And all the rest of the team freezes and they're like, wait a minute. I recognize that voice. And Jason's the only one left in the dark here. He's like, all right, well, then who the hell are you? And he's like, who am I? Who am I? And he goes through a whole monologue until eventually he's like, I am the one who led the Untitled to the Acres of All. I'm the one who planned all this from the very beginning. It is I, Ra's al Ghul. So, yeah, Ra's al Ghul is back. And then we get one last page of epilogue where we see the young boy, Saru, who took away Jason's memory like 6 issues ago, and the ghost of Dukra are looking into like a pit of, I don't know, scrying, whatever you want to call it. And just like, oh, is this it? We're in the end game now. And Dukra says, oh, he's done what he needs to do before, long ago in the city he called Gotham. He must learn to do it again. So yeah, I don't know. That next issue is a tie into Zero Year. So we're just going to take a break for that. I don't know if we're talking about that when he says long ago in a city called Gotham, or if there's going to be some other thing. But it seems to me like it is kind of a bridging link where they're going to be like, oh yes, the lessons he learns in the 0 Year issue are going to apply to the end of our arc of the Well of Sins or whatever it is. So I don't know. Might tie in, might not. Not sure. All I got to say is I'm okay with this issue. I think that it makes sense not to drag out the Untitled fight longer than it needed to go, especially if we're going to then pivot into a Ra's al Ghul story. I'm okay with the pacing of that. My primary issue is this Roy moping and crying about oh, I'm such a screw up. Oh, I'm so sad. And I can get it from the viewpoint of maybe they're trying to do this thing where he's opening up emotionally to Cheshire and then she'll open up to him. And that's because historically pre-New 52, they had a romance going. They were simpatico, but that has not been a thing here. And it just feels like we might be trying to speedrun that a bit too quick for my taste, in that this needs to be something where they need to have multiple encounters and grow to know each other in some meaningful way rather than just trauma dumping all at once here. It's a bit much. That's the only real complaint I have here. So all in all, I'm going to say this is a solid 6.5. It's fine. It's not quite crossing over into good territory, but it's definitely above average. And it's at least taking swings. The worst thing that this book usually does is it acts like everything's such a big deal, but doesn't actually really do anything. This is at least bringing in, no, League of Assassins. We've wrapped up the Untitled stuff. Now Ra's al Ghul is stepping in. This feels like big deals. So something, at the very minimum, earns it that 6.5.